Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the fundamentals of machine learning. Okay. So in this class we will discuss what is machine learning and the related fundamental concepts. So this is the outline for today class, and these are all the topics we will cover in this lecture. Okay. First, we will see the history of machine learning. Okay. So what are the foundation concept is involved with that machine learning concept, and what is the motivation for many researchers. Okay. So everything we will discuss in the introduction part. Okay. So after completing the introduction part, we will see what is machine learning. Okay. So what is machine learning? So how does is different from human learning? Okay, and these kind of things we will discuss in the machine learning part. Okay, so once we completed that machine learning part, we will see what are the important, what are the popular applications are available in here real term. Okay, so how does these kind of machine learning applications helps for human being to improve their lives? Okay, so everything we will discuss in the following slides. Okay, so once we completed that machine learning applications, we will see the different type of machine learning algorithms. Okay, so there are many type of algorithms are there, learning algorithms are there. For example, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, and ensemble learning, reinforcement learning, like that. Different type of learning algorithm we will discuss in the lecture. Okay, so these are all the topics we will cover in the coming slides. Now let's see the journey of machine learning. Okay, see, the foundation of machine learning was started in the 18th and 19th centuries. Okay, so the first point was started in the 18th and 19th centuries. Okay, especially in the year 1812, Bayes theorem was formalized by French mathematician Laplace. Okay, because nowadays most of the machine learning algorithms are working based on the Bayes theorem. Okay, see, most of the time machine learning algorithms are predicting the future values. Okay, so which means we have to find out some likelihood results. Okay, so future means we have to find some likelihood results. See, in order to find the likelihood result, we need Bayes theorem. Okay, so without Bayes theorem, it is very difficult. Okay, so we can find the future values, but this Bayes theorem is the most popular theorem to find out the future likelihood result. Okay, so that's why this is the foundation this is the base for many machine learning algorithm. Okay, so in the year 1812 itself, they formalized these kind of Bayes theorem by French mathematician Laplace. Okay, so after that, in the 1913, Markov introduced the concept of Markov chains. Okay, so what is Markov chains? Why we need to mention this Markov chain for this journey of machine learning? Because whenever we want to transfer from one state to another state, we need to predict the correct state. Okay, suppose the next state is random. Okay, so it is very difficult to choose the proper one. So that we need this kind of Markov chain technique to predict the future values. Okay, which means future next state. Okay, suppose let us assume that we are standing in the first state, but I need to go second state. That second state is a random state, which means there are many second states are there. So how do we choose the second state? So we need to apply that Markov chain and find out the estimated estimated second state. Okay, so there are some statistical methods are applied, and finally we will find out the estimated result. Okay, so this concept was introduced in the year 1930 because the statistical as well as the likelihood result. Okay, so these are all the basic foundation required for machine learning algorithm. Okay, so after Markov chains, in the year 1950, the Alan Turing was tested. Alan Turing test was introduced. Okay, so what is Alan Turing test? Okay, so in my previous session also I explained what is Alan Turing test. Okay, so the goal of Alan Turing test is the goal of Alan Turing test is he tried to he tried to make a machine as an intelligent one. Okay, so that is the goal of that Alan Turing test. So he tried one test. Okay, so that three persons are involved. Okay, so third person, first one is the evaluator, another one, another two persons are, one person is machine, another one is a human being. Okay, so the evaluator simultaneously he sent 10 questions to machine as well as the human being. So after sometimes he got the result, and he decided machine is better than human being. Okay, so machine's answer is better than human being. So that uh, he proved that machines are having intelligence. Okay, so that is the goal of that Alan Turing test. Okay, so that test also it is one of the foundations of machine learning. Okay, so in the year 1950, everyone agreed, and this is the motivation for many scientists. Okay, for so we have the ability to make machine as a intelligent one, like that people are thinking. Okay, so after Alan Turing test in the year 1952, Arthur Samuel, who coined the term machine learning. Okay, so he developed one application, one gaming application, checkers. Okay, so that checkers is beating human being. Also, that game, that checker game learns so many things. Okay, he has the ability to learn the environment. Okay, so that kind of program he was developed, and finally everyone agreed that so machines have the ability to learn something from the environment and finally delivered into the real world. Okay, like that. Okay, so the thing is, in the year 1952, Arthur Samuel coined the term machine learning. Okay, because without explicitly programming, a machine has the ability to learn the environment. That is the point term he introduced in the year 1952. Okay, so no need to write any explicit programming. Okay, like C, C++, Java. So without explicitly programming, the machines have the ability, okay, to learn the environment, and finally it will deliver some outcome into the real world. Okay, so that um, there are so there are so many advantages are there for learning algorithm. Machine has the ability to learn the algorithm from the real-time environment. Okay, so after that, there are so many fascinating activities happened for that machine learning concept. Okay, for example, um, uh, artificial neural network were introduced. Well, he introduced the artificial neural network program. Okay, so after that, there are in the year 1997, Kasparov, world chess champion Kasparov, he beated who beaten by Deep Blue came. Okay, so that is also one of the main motivation for we are working for that machine learning concept. Okay, so likewise, there are so many fascinating incidents that happened in between these 50 years. Okay, so recently in the year 2016, Google AlphaGo program has beaten professional human player using some machine learning technique. Okay, so that everyone agreed that machine has the ability to learn from the environment and finally it deliver to the real world. Okay, so for example, by using that machine learning algorithm, so we are developing so many gaming applications, and so that application has the ability to do all those things in finally he may beat human being. Okay, but not completely beaten human being. In somewhat we need to improve the performance. Okay, so these are all the basic history of basic journey of machine learning concept. Okay, now let's see. Okay, we understood the history of machine learning. Okay, now let's see what is human learning. How does it differ from machine learning? Okay, so before seeing the machine learning, we need to understand what is human learning. Okay, so human learning, it is coming under cognitive science. So in AI, cognitive approach is one of the important approach required for doing something in the environment. Okay, so here human learning, it is coming under cognitive science. So what is learning? Learning, it is all about the process of some gaining information from the environment through. Okay, so we are gaining some information through some observation. Okay, so let us take some real-time example. Okay, so let us take our human being. So what are the observation part is there? For eye is there, ear is there, nose is there. Okay, so these are all the parts are there. By using these kind of parts, we are observing something from the environment, and finally we stored in our brain. Okay, So that is one kind of learning. See, whenever I saw something, okay, I have seen something. So that kind of information is continuously stored in my mind. Okay. So learning is the process of gaining information through some observation. Okay. So why we need this kind of learning? Okay. So we need to carry out some multiple tasks. Okay. So without learning, we cannot do anything. Okay. Suppose let us assume that we are child. We don't know anything. Okay. We are just born 1 month year old child. What we will do? We cannot do anything. We don't know what is learning, how to learn, and everything. Okay. So the thing is, the learning, it is very, very important to carry out multiple tasks. Okay, which means uh, already we have some information, already we have some experience. With the help of that experience, we will do some multiple tasks. Okay, so that's why the human learning is play a vital role for human being. Okay, and what about the next one? So we need to prior information related to the task. In order to complete the multiple tasks, we must have some experience. We must have some past information. Then only we will do some tasks, multiple tasks. Either we may do anonymously or we may do parallelly. Okay, whatever it is, we must have experience. By experience only will decide all those things. Okay, so that's why learning is one of the important concept. Okay, so available in machine learning concept, because we mimic the human brain concept also. Okay, and keep on learning. So why we are here learning? Suppose first time I will learn. Okay, for example, so, suppose let us assume that I am 9-year-old boy. Okay, so I want to learn how to ride a bike. Okay, so step by step I will learn. Okay, first day I may fall down. Okay, so second day I will a little bit improve. So likewise after 10 days, so I have the ability to ride my bike. Okay, so that is keep on learning. So continuously I'm learning. Finally, I achieved my aim. Okay, finally I achieved my objectives. So what is my objective? I want to ride by bicycle. Okay, so this is the example for continuous improvement. So whenever we are doing some continuous improvement, finally we will get some very good outcome. Okay, so that kind of concept is already implemented into reinforcement learning concept. Okay, so we will discuss in the later slides what is reinforcement learning. Okay, so this is the foundation. This is the motivation for reinforcement learning. Okay, so because this is why keep on learning is very much required. Learning is very much required for machine learning algorithms. Okay, and then rocket launch experience, which means already we have so much knowledge. Already we have so much knowledge, but some people they may not utilize. You know what we'll do? So simply we keep it ourselves. We cannot do anything. Okay, so if we have some rocket launch of experience, we must utilize that information and finally will make which helps to make some decision in the environment. Okay, suppose some 70-year-old human being is there. He has so much experience for solving complex problem in the real world. Okay, some like family problems or other problems, whatever it is. Okay, if you are getting some help from this kind of people, they give some they will give some feedback. Okay, some feedback based on his experience or her experience. Okay, so likewise, rocket experience will always solve complex problems. Okay, so that's why learning also this kind of learning play a vital role in human being. Okay, as well as the machine learning algorithm. So now let's see how does human learning happen. Okay, how does human learning happen? How? Okay, for example, already I told you child learning. So how the learnings are happening? So whenever you born into the world, what will happen by default? You don't know anything. Okay, after sometimes your mother feed something and everything your mother will do, but you don't know how to. But by default, you are learning but you cannot understand, but you may not realize what will happen in the real world. Okay, so the thing is slowly the child learning, okay, how to eat and how to drive and how to move like that. Okay, so this is why we are giving training to systems. Okay, likewise we are giving training to system in the machine learning concept. Okay, so learning means so slowly the child is learning from his parents and finally he will do all those things. Whenever he is learning, all the informations are he or she kept in her or his brain. Okay, which means in future, whenever it is required, they recollect the information from the brain and finally utilize in the real world and then will do some task. Okay. So likewise, the learnings play a vital role for making some decisions in the real world. Okay. So that is the motivation for learning concept. Okay. So now let's see what is machine learning. Okay. That is human learning. Okay. So now you understand what is human learning. Now we will see what is machine learning. Okay. So human learning, which is similar to that machine learning. Okay. So because human learning is we have to mimic the human learning. Okay. So whatever we are doing in the real world, that should be implemented in the form of algorithms. Okay. So that what will happen by default, the machine, it is act like a human being. Okay. So that is the concept of machine learning as well as the artificial intelligence. Okay. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. Okay. So here, now let's see the definition of uh, machine learning. Okay, so this is the definition of machine learning, standard definitions. So machine learning, it is all about a computer program is said to learn from experience. So is said to learn from experience with respect to some task, and some performance measure. If it's performance on T, which means task, as measured by P improves with experience E. Okay, so this definition was given by the Tom Mitchell in the year 1998. Okay, so simple thing you have to remember that. Okay, without explicitly written any programming, without explicitly writing any program, the machine has the ability to do something. The machine has the ability to learn from the environment. Okay, so that concept we will call it as machine learning concept. How does the machines are learning? With the help of some past experience. Okay, so how the past experience come? We will give some training to that machine, and finally, the machines are utilizing the past information, and finally, they will make some decision into the real-time environment. Okay, like prediction, feature prediction, like that, classification, like that. Okay, so this is the definition of machine learning concept. Okay. Now let's see the definitions of difference of traditional programming and machine learning programming. So what is traditional programming, like C programming, C++ programming, Java programming? Okay, so these are all the traditional programming concept. Okay, for example, what is the input of that training traditional program? Okay, so we will give during the runtime, we will give some numerical values, and finally once we will compile now, so finally we will get some output on the same screen. Okay, so that is the output. Okay, whenever we are giving some input, okay, either within the program or during the compile time, runtime, so the computer will process something and finally delivered as output one. This is the traditional program. But whereas in machine programming, it is very it's a different from traditional programming. So here we know the future values. We know the future values output. Okay, we know the output. So here we are giving data as input, and output also. Once we are giving we are giving this kind of thing into the machines now, by default what will come? It will generate some program. Okay, so we will give training to the machine, and finally it will generate some program. Okay, so that is the difference between traditional and machine learning programming concept. Okay, traditional programming and machine learning programming concept. Okay, so data means some informations already available is there. So we have to train that information. Okay, so how do we train? Because we know what is the expected output. So based on the expected output, we will give the training to that information, and finally it will implemented into systems, and that system will deliver as a very good programming. Okay, so this is the concept of machine learning algorithms. Okay. Now let's see some of the machine learning applications. Okay, so there are in our real world, these kind of machine learning applications are play a vital role for improving human lives. Okay, see these kind of machine learning algorithms is very important and essential in many companies. Okay, for example, Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix. Okay, so these are all the companies are till now they are using machine learning algorithms. Okay, these kind of machine learning algorithms are applied into our real time also. Okay, so this kind of algorithm which helps to improve our daily life. Okay, so that's why machine learning applications is one of the important requirement for human being also. Okay, nowadays we cannot separate this kind of application in as well as human being. Okay, now let's see the different machine learning applications. The first one, a recommendation system. So what is a recommendation system? See, so whenever I am going to that Amazon website or Flipkart website, okay. So suppose I want to I want to buy some book from that Amazon website, okay, like machine learning algorithm, okay. So I go through, I searched list of machine learning algorithm books, okay. So suppose if I am clicking one book, machine learning algorithm, if I'm selecting one book, the relevant books, the related books along with my searching is appeared in the same screen. Okay, so that is one kind of recommendation. So without the user request, any request, the system itself analyze the user requirement, and finally they will show you these are all the related books are there, so that if you are interested, you will buy the book. Otherwise, you will leave it like that. This is the hidden meaning of that content. Okay, that concept. So based on the user requirement, they will recommend the related books. Okay, so that kind of things we will call it as recommendation system. Okay, so these concepts are working based on the machine learning algorithm. Okay, so already the people have written some machine learning algorithm. So that algorithm will analyze the user requirement and finally they will recommend. Okay, which means already they trained their data. So based on that, they will make some decision and deliver into the real world. Okay, so that is the first application. So what is the benefit whenever the systems are recommending something into you? Okay, because we cannot predict the human being. Okay, so suppose I don't have much aware about the related books. Okay, suppose this kind of that kind of books also appearing. Okay, see, that's why I am also very much interested. Okay, so that time I am also very much interested to buy another two books. Okay, so that by default the company revenues are growing. So that is the outcome of these kind of recommendation systems. Okay, so that is the first important machine learning application. Till now so many websites, Amazon, Google, Flipkart. Okay, so many websites they are using this kind of recommendation system, machine learning algorithm. Okay, so this is also one of the popular concept available in machine learning concept. And second one, medical imaging analysis. So why we need to analyze the medical images? Okay, like for analyzing our human brain, for analyzing our heart. Okay, so likewise there are different techniques are there. Okay, till now we are not getting 100% accurate result. So there are many technologies are there, but 100% accurate result till now we are not getting. Okay, so but machine learning algorithm, if you are implementing that machine learning algorithm, it will analyze nook and corner of the entire parts like heart and brain or liver or whatever it is. Okay, so based on the analysis, the system itself, it will recommend something. Okay, it will predict something. Okay, so there may, after 5 years there may be a possibility for happening these things. Okay, so these kind of holes are available in this heart, these kind of problems are available in your brain. Like that, the system will predict and finally give it to real world like doctors. Okay, so that these kind of machine learning algorithm play a vital role in medical imaging analysis concept also. Okay, that is the second application. Now let's see the third one, machine learning in security. Okay, because security is the biggest factor. Okay, whatever field is there, securities play a vital role. Okay, but by using the machine learning algorithm, we may classify some of the fraudulent in banking industries. Okay, because banking industries, so many people they are stealing our customer money and everything. Okay, if you are implementing this kind of machine learning algorithm into financial field, they may classify the fraudulence. Okay, now they may identify, they may filter out some unwanted emails also. They may, by using the machine learning algorithm, so they may filter out some unwanted emails. They may identify some fraudulent persons. Okay, everything uh, identified by the machine learning algorithms. Okay, so identifying these kind of filtering, identifying these kind of words are coming under security. Okay, so machine learning algorithms play a vital role in the security field also. Okay, so that is the third applications of machine learning. Okay, now let's see the fourth application: self-driving cars. Okay, self-driving car is one of the major project by Google and Amazon. I think so. Okay, Google Brain. Okay, so Google Brain and self-driving cars are most important projects are big companies. Okay, what is self-driving cars without involving any human? Okay, so the without involving any human being, the car itself is driving automatically. The car itself driving and finally reach the destination. Okay, so that is also another machine learning applications. So there are so many problems are associated with this self-driving cars. Okay, still people are working. Uh, uh, need to work enormously. Then only they will rectify many problems. Okay, so self-driving cars, it may not fit for all the situations. Okay, so still people are working. Okay, after some times they will achieve their objectives. Okay, so self-driving also is very much required for some situations. Okay, some emergency situations, self-driving cars play a vital role. For example, for 1 week before, some earthquakes are happening in Thailand. So what will happen if we are having some self-driving cars? So self-driving car means some ambulance cars. So we may utilize these kind of situations and finally help many people. Okay, so that's why self-driving cars play a vital role for many real-world situations. Okay, self-driving not only for car, for many machine items. Okay, so that is another type of machine learning applications. And next one, voice recognition. Okay, so voice recognition is one of the things nowadays. Voice recognition applications are inbuilt one for many mobile devices. Okay, Google Voice Assistants. Okay, so which helps to read many content. Suppose some people are blind. Okay, so these kind of people are, they may utilize the Google Voice Assistant. Some people are uneducated, so they may utilize this kind of voice recognition. Okay, likewise, there are many benefits are there for voice recognition technologies. Okay, that technologies is running based on the machine learning algorithm. Okay, that is another machine learning application. And next one, search engines. Okay, so usually search engines are working based on the page ranking algorithm. Okay, so if you are frequently visited some pages on your particular geographical location, that will appear on the first. Okay, that is the usual concept of the page ranking algorithm. Okay, now search engines are working based on the machine learning algorithm. Why? So they in-depthly they are searching the content and finally it is delivered to the end users. Okay, so that's why machine learning is one of the best, one of the important algorithm required for nowadays. Okay, because it will do some in-depth analysis. Okay, in-depth analysis and finally it will deliver some very good output. Okay, so search engines also utilizes machine learning algorithm. Okay, so whenever we are using the machine learning algorithms, it may reduce a huge amount of cost, time, and memory space and everything. Okay, so why we are utilizing algorithms? So there are two things we have to achieve: time and cost. So how we will achieve the time? That our algorithm, it must be working very fast with accuracy. That is very important. Cost, whenever that algorithm takes its minimum memory space within less than time. So we may, by default, we are reducing the cost also. Okay, so that's why these kind of machine learning algorithms play a vital role in the search engines also. Okay, so it may give more benefit to end users, not only for end users, the company also. Okay, and last one, computer vision. Okay, so why computer vision play a vital role? Suppose we want to develop some self-driving cars. We need computer vision concept also, because whenever you are doing some automatic driving, you need to identify who are all human and who are all animals and who are all normal items. Okay, like that you have to identify. So how we will identify? With the help of some computer vision concept. Okay, so that for all applications are developed with the help of machine learning algorithm. Okay, so this is only the limited algorithms I mentioned. There are many applications are there. Okay, if possible, you go through Google or go through some standard book and finally find out different applications. Okay, after 10 years, after 15 years, so we may get more applications. Okay, so that applications which helps to improve the human life in day-by-day basis. Okay, so this is all about machine learning applications. Now let's see the learning types, like machine learning type. Okay, so machine learning algorithm usually there are different type of learnings are available. So the first one, supervised learning. Okay, and second one, unsupervised learning. Third one, uh, uh, reinforcement learning, semi-supervised learning, and ensemble learning. Okay, so likewise, there are different type of learnings are available in machine learning concept. Okay, so now let's see one by one. Okay, so the first one, supervised learning. So what is supervised learning? Okay, so what is the motivation of supervised learning? Okay, so the best, the major motivation of supervised learning is uh, he knows the past information. That supervised learning concept knows the past information. Okay, so that past information, what is the past information? That is experience. So the systems knows the experience. The systems have some experience. With the help of that experience, they will make some decision, which means they will predict something. They will predict some future values. They will classify some. They will classify something. Okay. So likewise, the super learning concept play a vital role in machine learning. Okay. So which means sometimes these kind of supervised learning concept play a vital role in many situations. Okay. Now let's see one simple example for that supervised learning. Okay. So there are three things you have to remember. Okay. So training data. Okay, so the first one is training data. So training data means some past informations are available in the training data. So which means already we are giving some train. Already we are giving some train to the training data. Okay, which means every informations are labeled one. So tagged one. Okay, so every informations are tagged one. That information is available in the training data set. Okay, so once we trained the data, okay, so the data set, by default, what will happen? The machine built some prediction model. Okay, so the machine built some prediction model. So that prediction model, which helps to find out, the labeled. Okay, so which helps to find out the predicted values and finally stored in the test data. Okay, so the relevant informations are stored and the corresponding row values. Okay, so that is the concept of supervised learning. Okay, see, for example, I will tell you one simple example. Okay, for example, what is labeled value? Suppose if you are taking some ball, so ball is here, it's a circle color. Okay, so what is the circle is one kind of label. Circle also is ball is also ball is circle. Apple is circle. Apple also circle one, like that. There are so many items are circle. Okay. If it is fruit, so it may take. We may take that apple as circle one, like that, or apple color is like blue or yellow, like that. We have to label. This means we are giving some training to that training data set. So based on their experience, based on the prediction models, they will match these two items into test data. Okay, so that is the process of supervised learning concept. Okay, let's see this figure. Okay, so this is the input raw data. Okay, so this is the input raw data, which means we are not giving any training to this raw data. It's a pure data. So that data is available in a data set. Okay, so after getting this as input, what we will do? We will give some training to that raw input data. So which means all the already we assume that already we completed the training process, so that every informations are labeled one. Okay. So after training this data, by default, what will happen? So we need to apply that supervised learning concept and finally build some prediction model. Okay, so what is the prediction model? So we may use many models are there, or like regression, classification, like that many models are there. So based on the requirement, we may choose the corresponding model, and finally that model will take some decision. That decision will appear into the will appear into the test data. So that is the output. Okay. So these are all the processes are involved for supervising concept. Okay. For example, this diagram shows some classification model applied. Okay. So classification prediction model applied, and finally we are getting different classification labeled values. Okay. So this is, we call it as supervised learning concept. Okay. So uh, one input raw data is there, so that we are giving some training to that input raw data. So once we are completed the training, every informations are labeled. So after labeled information, what will happen? By default, the machines are building some prediction model with the help of some algorithm. And finally, that information is put it into test data. So means we are getting some different classification or different prediction values we are getting. Okay, so that is the process of supervised learning concept. Now let's see step 1, step 2, and step 3 process. Okay, so what is the first one? Label cats. Okay, let's take one simple example. Okay, so let's take one simple example. Label cats. So we already this normal cat is the raw data. Okay, so label data means, so if you are taking that cat it look like this one. Okay, so we give training to that model. Sorry, already we give training to that data. So finally that is converted into a label too. Okay, so after that, what will happen? So the machines are building some prediction model. So by using some algorithm, machine learning algorithm, supervised learning algorithm, and finally they may classify these kind of items are cat, and these kind of items are coming under not cat category. Okay, so there are two type of problems suited for this kind of problems. Okay, first one is classification. So what is classification? So it is classified based on the categories. So what are all the categories? So based on the labeled data, so they classified different categories. Okay, these are all the cats, and these are all the dogs, and these are all the rabbits, and these are all the not cat items. Like that, they classified. And what about the regression? Regression, it is all about for predicting numerical feature real values. Okay, for example, dollars, weights, and x. Okay, so supervised learning algorithm, it consists of two algorithms, that is classification as well as regression. Okay, now let's see what is classification and regression. Okay, so regression, it is all about this one kind of technique, machine learning technique, supervised learning technique, which utilizes statistics to predict values of a desired target quantity when the target quantity is continuous. Okay, so there is no stop. So suppose the continuous quantity is infinite one, then how will you find out the future prediction values? It is very, very difficult. Okay, can you tell me one simple example? Okay, let me tell you one simple example. Okay, let us take that universe. So we don't know how many planets are there in our universe. So it's a continuous one. Okay, so based on the some prediction, based on the some regression technique, we may predict some future values, numerical value. Okay, this much of planets are possible. Okay, within this distance. Like that, we have to predict. Okay, so this is the example for regression. Okay, so these kind of situation, regression play a vital role for identifying, for predicting real values. Okay, for example, stock market. Stock market, so we may utilize this kind of regression algorithm and finally predict. Okay, so likewise, in our Earth, there are so many planets are available in the universe. So there are many universes are there. We may not. It's an infinite one. So with this kind of infinite environment, so we may apply this kind of regression algorithm and finally predict the real values. Okay, there is no end. Okay, so this is we call it as regression technique. Okay, so now this is the another example. Okay, suppose what is the temperature going to be tomorrow? Okay, so in order to find the tomorrow temperature, in order to predict the tomorrow temperature, so we may apply some regression technique. Okay, but whereas in classification, will it be cold or hot tomorrow? Like that, we will ask and finally predict the values. Okay, so tomorrow, okay, tomorrow it may be a hot day, or tomorrow it may be a cold day. Okay, so like what we are predicting now, so that is coming under classification category. Okay, these parts it may be okay after sometimes it may be cold after 5 p.m. it may be hot like that. We will predict the machine learning algorithm will predict. Okay, so these regression and classification or classifications algorithms are most popular algorithms in supervised learning concept. Okay, the only one thing you have to remember for that supervised learning concept, these algorithms are which are used to identify the predict the future values. Okay, suppose we are taking regression now, regressions are identifying real numerical future values, but whereas in classification identify the future values or classified the future values. Okay, and this is the real-time example for classification example. For example, if you are taking a newspaper news article, so that news article it consists of different classifications like food item section is different, sports item different is different, politics different. Okay, so likewise it's classified. Okay, so what is the advantage of classification? So we can easily identify the classified one and finally read it. Okay, that is also one of the advantage of classification algorithm. But the main thing is we have to predict the future items and we have to classify the items. Okay, so that is the example for classification algorithms. Okay, now let's see the unsupervised learning concept. Okay, so what is unsupervised learning concept? Unsupervised learning is also another type of machine learning algorithms. Okay, machine learning concept. Okay, so in comparison with super learning concept, unsupervised learning concept is not labeled. Okay, which means without any labeled data. Okay, so without any labeled data, we need to form a groups or we need to form a clusters. Okay, we need to form a groups and we need to form a clusters within the given data. Okay, so which means we are not giving any training to that unsupervised learning concept. Without giving any training, we have to classify and we have to group something as output of real world. Okay, so output to the real world. Okay, so this concept we will call it as unsupervised learning concept. Okay, so this is the unsupervised learning concept example. So input raw data. So this input raw data means it's a pure data. So that data is given to this part. Okay, so it's not a labeled one, but we are giving some training. Okay, so by default, what will happen? So once it will get the information from the input raw data. So the machines are building some unsupervised learning model, prediction model with the help of some unsupervised learning concept, and finally it will do some clustering and classification, grouping and clustering concept. Okay, so the similar objects are grouped together. Okay, so they need to find the similar object and finally grouped together. Okay, for example, let me take one simple example. So if you know that straight line of equation formula, so we may predict the future values or we may group the future values. Okay, for example, the straight line equation formula is y equal to mx plus c. Okay, so which are all the objects is closely close with that straight line, so we may group it together. Okay, so that is one kind of predicted values. So likewise, we may group different group, objects as well as cluster different objects. Okay. So this entire process we will call it as unsupervised learning algorithm. Okay. Supervised learning is uses labeled data, but whereas unsupervised learning it is not using any labeled data without helping anything. They may group or they may cluster the objects. Okay, so this concept we will call it as unsupervised learning concept. Okay, let me tell you another simple example for supervised learning concept. Okay, let me take one simple example. Okay, that financial domain. Okay, so suppose if you are taking supervised learning, what will happen by default? If you already suppose some people are they are frequently they are stealing the money from customers. Okay, so they may already be identified. Already identified means already be labeled. These kind of persons are fraudulent persons. Okay, so based on that, based on the label, in future times, in future, we verified all those things related to that labeled values. If someone is matching with that face, we may identify it. So we may got that person. Okay. So that is we call it as supervised. But whereas in unsupervised learning, what will happen? We don't know. We are not labeled. These persons are fraudulent person. Okay. So based on the past activities, we may identify these are the persons are fraudulent persons. Like that, we will make some decision. Or those persons who are related to these persons, we may group together or cluster together and finally identify it. Okay, so likewise, the supervised and unsupervised learning algorithms play a vital role in financial domain also. Okay, so this is we'll call it as unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning, it consists of two or three, more than one algorithms are there, and these are all the important algorithms. So the first one, clustering. So what is clustering? Clustering, it is all about some similar objects are grouped together. Okay, so similar kind of that objects are having some similar kind of behavior. So that objects are grouped together. Okay, so because that objects are not having any unlabeled one. Okay, so it's unlabeled data, so we are grouping together. Okay, so already I explained with the help of some straight line equation. So we may group or we may cluster similar points. Okay, so this is we call it as clustering algorithm. And next one, association rules. Okay, so what is the association rules algorithm? So this is one of the data mining concept to finding the rules. Okay, which are all the rules are is associated with existing one. Okay, so the associated values we may find out. Okay, for example, let me tell you a simple example for this top normal market. Okay, so normal market. So what will happen? Suppose I am purchasing something. Okay, let me tell you one simple example. Suppose I'm purchasing some what will take some associated values. Okay, I'm purchasing some milk. What will happen? By default, I want to buy some water bottles. Okay, and I want to buy some sugar. Okay, so these are all the association value associated with that milk. Okay, so because we make some tea or coffee or see whatever it is, sugar is very important. So people they may use some sugar, mix some sugar into the milk and finally eat it. Okay, so one item is associated with different items, which means we know the one algorithm, so we may discover if we know one rules. Based on the rule, we may discover many rules, which means that rules we will call it as association rule. Okay, so one product it may be associated with many products. So based on that, we will give some recommendation to that environment. Okay, so recommendation play a vital role. Okay, this is also one kind of recommendation concepts are involved with that association rule. Okay, if you are buying one product, the related product, which means the associated projects also appeared on the particular screen. Okay, so this is also one kind of recommendation concepts are involved. Okay, so these clustering and associations rules are coming under unsupervised learning concept, because let us take this market. We are not giving any training. Okay, so based on our past information, we identify the associated values. This is not a labeled one. We are not giving any training. we have some experience. With the help of some experience, we are finding some associated values and finally deliver it to the real world. Okay, so this is, we call it as unsupervised learning. Okay, so unlabeled data involved for finding, for discovering new rules. Okay, this is all about unsupervised learning concept. Now let's see the difference between unsupervised learning and supervised learning. Okay, so what is the supervised learning? Already we discussed, it's a labeled one. Okay, so which means we have the knowledge of output, because based on the knowledge only we will give some training to the draw input data, data set. Okay, so we have some knowledge. Okay, so based on the knowledge of the output, based on the knowledge, we are giving some training to the draw input data set, and finally we will match with the test data. If it is matching, so based on that, we will predict the values and finally put it into same place, put it into corresponding place. Okay, that is, we call it as supervised learning class. Okay, so what is the goal of that supervised learning? We have to predict the class or value the table values. Okay, there are so many supervised learning, popular supervised learning algorithms are there. For example, neural network, support vector machines, decision trees, Bayesian classifiers. Okay, so these are all the example algorithms for supervised learning concept. Okay, but whereas in unsupervised learning, there is no knowledge of output of class or value. Okay, without any knowledge, we have to find out the associated value or predict the future values. Okay, what is the goal of that unsupervised learning? So we have to determine data patterns or groupings for identifying or discovering new things. Okay, so that is the goal of unsupervised learning algorithm. Okay, for example, self-guided learning algorithm. Okay, for example, K-means clustering algorithm, genetic algorithm, clustering approaches. So these are all the example of unsupervised learning concept. Okay, so without giving any training, without knowledge of any output, we are finding the patterns, new patterns or new rules. Okay, so this is the difference between supervised learning algorithm and unsupervised learning algorithm. Okay, another algorithms also available. Okay, so for example, Unsupervised learning algorithm. So what is unsupervised learning algorithm? So there are, see, if you are using some supervised learning algorithms, there are some problems are there. We may not get accurate result. We may not get accurate prediction values. So that we need to overcome these 5 problems. Okay, so similar to supervised learning, unsupervised learning algorithms also having some problem. Okay, so overfitting, this kind of problems are happening. Okay, so in order to avoid these kind of problems, we need to find out the new technique, new learning type. So that technique we call it as ensemble learning. So what is ensemble learning? There are, see, in the supervised learning and unsupervised learning, we are using only one model. The machines are building only one model. Okay, but whereas in ensemble learning, there are multiple models are there. All the models are predicting different values. See, once it will predicting the different values, we need to find out the best values. Okay, so that is, we call it as optimal values. So that values is a accurate one in comparison with supervised learning and unsupervised learning concept. Okay, what is the problem for that ensemble learning? It occupies huge amount of memory space, and also it takes a lot of time. Okay, there are some hidden disadvantages are available for that ensemble learning concept. Okay, so for example, boosting algorithm, bagging algorithm, random forest algorithm. Okay, so these are all the algorithms are most popular algorithms available in ensemble learning concept. Okay, suppose in the ensemble learning concept, multiple models are there. All the models are producing some different or predicting different values. So how to find out the output values? So we may apply some Markov chain models. So what is the Markov chain models? There are random outputs we are getting. Okay, so among the random outputs, we need to find out the best output. So that best outputs we may get with the help of some Markov chains. Okay, so that's why Markov chain and the Bayes theorem. Okay, Bayes theorem and Markov chain play a vital role in the machine learning algorithm. Without these two things, it is not a machine learning algorithm, because Bayes algorithm most of the time it focuses on getting likely good result. But whereas in the Markov chains, for finding the optimized values or accurate, there are multiple random. Suppose the environment is random, we need to find out the best values. That is best output values. Okay. So likewise, these likelihood prediction and the best output prediction is the key for any machine learning algorithms. Okay. So that's why these two is the foundations of any machine learning algorithm. Okay. And next type of machine learning algorithm is reinforcement learning algorithm. So what is reinforcement learning algorithm? So already we discussed, okay, in the human learning concept, we discussed, suppose the child who wants to ride a bicycle, okay, she wants to learn how to ride a bicycle. Okay, so what all the steps are involved? First day, she or he will go and start something and fell down in the road or somewhere else, some other place. Again, she failed or he failed on the first day. Again, it will go to the second day. So based on the first day experience, she will do or he will do something. So similarly, he will do continuous activities, and finally, he is learning how to ride a bicycle. Okay. So the similar concept applied into the reinforcement learning concept. Okay. So reinforcement learning concept is working based on the award and penalty concept. What is award and penalty concept? Whenever the prediction model is getting good result, so we'll give some award. Suppose the model is getting uh, wrong result, so we may give some penalty. Okay. So likewise, the algorithms are, the machines are continuously improving until it will reach the expected output. Okay. So this algorithm we will call it as reinforcement learning algorithm. Okay. So these are all the basic learning types are available in machine learning concept. Okay. Like semi-supervised learning is also one of the important learning types are available in machine learning concept. Okay. So this is the all about the machine learning fundamentals, the fundamentals of machine learning concept. Okay. Now, where to start this machine learning concept? Okay. So basics are essential. We need to learn the basics. Okay. So basics is very, very important. Also, in addition to the basics, we need to concentrate on theoretical background. Okay. Like regression. See, most of the time the predictions are predicted concepts are executed based on the mathematical. Okay. Because if you are taking the regression, the numerical prediction only you have to do. Okay. So theoretical background is essential for machine learning algorithm, because the Bayes algorithm also is one kind of mathematical background. We need to find out the likelihood result. Markov chain also is one kind of mathematical result. Okay. So because without this mathematics, we cannot do any computer science concept, especially machine learning algorithm. Okay. So we need to do some theoretical practice for this machine learning concept. Okay. And third one, step by step, we have to learn. Okay. So first we will learn the history, and after that we will learn the different type of algorithms. So unsupervised, unsupervised, and like similarly, we'll learn one by one, and finally we'll start. Okay, for writing machine learning codes. Then we need to learn statistics and the interpretations of the concepts. Okay, so that is also very, very important. And finally, be passionate about what you do in the machine learning concept. Okay, so these are all the basic requirements of for learning machine learning concept. Okay, so today class we discussed what is machine learning, what are the history of machine learning. After that, actually we have seen the difference between normal human being and machine normal learning and machine learning. Okay, it means what is human learning and what is machine learning. And after completing these two, we discussed the different type of learning algorithms. Okay, so what is supervised learning, and what are all the algorithms are involved with the supervised learning. And after that, we discussed what is unsupervised learning, what are the algorithms are associated with the unsupervised learning, and the ensemble learning, And finally, we discussed the reinforcement learning. Okay. So this is all about the fundamentals of machine learning concept. Thank you.